U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for COVID-19. The president made the announcement on Twitter shortly after the news that his top aide, Hope Hicks, had contracted the virus. Hicks traveled with the president several times this week. Trump tweeted that he and his wife would quarantine immediately, but his doctor said the president would continue to carry out his duties in the White House, quote, without disruption.
It's a lifetime global pandemic.
Well, the very latest now, let's talk to our Washington bureau chief, Inez Pohl. Inez, in the final weeks of the election campaign, President Trump has tested positive for the coronavirus. What more can you tell us?
Well, indeed, he just tweeted it out himself, Terry, as you just said. Mr. Trump received the test results just after one of his closest advisors got sick, and she was traveling with him. So what do we know? We know that the president's physician said that Mr. Trump was well, but we don't know whether he is experiencing symptoms. What we know is that Donald Trump is 74 years old, and he belongs to the age category which is most vulnerable to the virus. So everybody is discussing now what will happen if he gets really seriously sick. And that's probably interesting to know for our viewers that under the 25th Amendment, a medically incapacitated president has the option to transfer his power to the vice president, and that would be Vice President Mike Pence.
Inez, thank you very much for now. That was our Washington correspondent, Inez Pohl.
Miraculously goes away. I hope that's true. Thank you very much.
Well, our reporter, Katie Stevens, here in Berlin, is also following this story for us. Katie, what impact could this have on the election?
Well, Terry, the first and most obvious impact is on campaigning. Trump has already cancelled a rally scheduled for Friday in Florida, a key swing state, so that will be a blow. He also had more rallies scheduled in the coming days and weeks for Wisconsin and Arizona, among others, also important states for him to win in this election. The Centers for Disease Control guidelines say that anybody who tests positive for the coronavirus, even if they aren't showing symptoms, need to self-isolate for at least 10 days, and this could be longer if he does develop symptoms. So that also throws into question what about the next presidential debate scheduled for October 15th in Miami. Beyond that, another impact is that this could really derail Trump's efforts to focus attention away from the coronavirus pandemic and onto other issues. So we had his nomination to the Supreme Court. That was something that could be seen as working in Trump's favour. He was also trying to talk about mail-in ballots, saying that that might be something that could potentially invalidate the election result if it didn't go the way that he wanted. But now with this positive coronavirus diagnosis for the president himself, it's really going to focus all the attention back on the pandemic, which, let's not forget, is still having a huge impact on many, many people across the United States.
Now, of course, it's the middle of the night on the east coast of the United States, where Washington is, but this is waking people up everywhere. What reactions are you seeing so far?
Well, in fact, not just in the US, but all around the world. So there's already been a few high-profile comments on this. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted that he is wishing my friend a quick recovery and good health. In terms of official reaction from the United States, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get some of those. Significantly, Joe Biden, the presidential rival, hasn't officially tweeted yet, but a few hours before Donald Trump's positive test result, the last tweet that he put out was Donald Trump will do everything he can to distract from the fact that because of his failed COVID-19 response, over 200,000 Americans have died, 26 million are on unemployment, and 1 in 6 small businesses risk permanent closure. So I think that gives us an idea of what Joe Biden's strategy will be going ahead. But as we've said, it's really unclear how this presidential campaign is going to play out now. It's going to be very difficult for Trump because he's been relying on big rallies, public appearances. He now won't be able to do those, at least he shouldn't be doing those. We'll have to wait and see. And then there's also the question of his health. His doctors have said that he's OK at the moment, but let's not forget, as you mentioned earlier, he is 74 years old. He is in a high-risk group. Were he to develop symptoms later and become severely ill, that could even raise questions of if he should be on the ballot at all.
Many questions now. A big question mark hanging over the U.S. election. Katie Stevens, thank you so much. Well, let's see if there's any reaction from Brussels at this point. Let's bring in our Brussels correspondent, Barbara Basil, who's standing by there while an EU summit is underway. Barbara, any reactions from Europe yet to the news about President Trump testing positive for the coronavirus?
So far, nothing to be seen here, but I'm sure they will come any minute now. Of course, the usual wishes for a speedy recovery. But if you try to be a mind reader, what will be going through European leaders' heads is a certain fear of the American election campaign that has already been very chaotic, descending further into chaos, and that might strike fear into their hearts. And then also there is, of course, another level, the unspeakable one, looking at Donald Trump having appeared without face masks a lot, holding public rallies with people without masks on, and then comparing this to this super hygiene, socially distanced, masked summit here in Brussels, where leaders are really trying everything to show to their people that you have to behave sensibly. There might also other thoughts going through their minds that I would not want to speculate on.